Shalom, all praises to the Most High, all praises to His holy name. I'm back again by the grace of the Most High. And as I was doing a little study and research, the word of the Most High says that the gospel, which is genealogy and temple work, is built upon the prophets, the apostles, the prophets, and Yahweh, the Messiah, being the chief cornerstone. And there's no other foundation that can be laid that is laid. And it's been established that the Americans, who are the true Israelites, that they call Negroes, we are this such people. Not based on opinion, but based on truth. Based on truth. That the Roman Catholic Pope has already agreed is indeed the truth. But in saying that, I'm including in this my brethren or cousins, etc., who are truly, they call themselves Mexicans. What do I mean by that? Because the true Mexicans are, quote unquote, the Negroes, as they put it. And we come in dark brown, as they say, a lighter shade of brown. And this is not to disrespect anyone, but I've only come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So that being said, if our lighter shade of brown brethren and cousins will swallow their pride and acknowledge that they're come from the Negroid stock, as to say, I'm including them too. Because if they all come from Jacob, they're our brethren and cousins and family. But if they want to be ashamed of that fact, then I'm not speaking for those, because then they say they're Spaniards and they come from Esau. I'm only talking knowledge based on truth. Once again, I'm going to revisit Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, Volume 2, The Columbian Era, Red Silver Fox Thunderbird, page 51. In any case, between the years of 1492 and Salakia, in any case between the years of 1492 and 1501, at least 3,000 Native Americans were known to be shipped to Europe, with a likely total being possible double that. Most were sent to the Seville area, where they seemed to show up in the slave market as Negroes. What most people don't realize is Negro was a terminology that was used to describe the indigenous people of the Americas. So you have the term of Native American, you have the term Negroes, and you have the term indigenous people of the Americas, all talking about the Israelites being Americans. And then it says, one of the most prevalent fallacies in North American history is the story surrounding Christopher Columbus and the people he encountered. It is interesting to note that early 20th century histories were stating that Christopher Columbus was trying to prove that the world was round. However, late 19th century historical writings on Columbus, not school textbooks, make no mention of this revelation. They do, however, tell in great detail of the carnage that took place on the islands during Columbus' reign. They also describe in detail of the hospitableness of the indigenous people, the gentle nature of the indigenous people until they had to defend themselves, and that the indigenous people were considered Negroes. See, why does everything keep on coming back? to being who we are as Israelites. You can't get around, because I'm using terms. Jacob was described as a Negro. So if you're a Mexican and you claim that you're a part of Israel, you are what they call a Negro. Can't get around it. And your true image, if you claim your quote unquote Negro heritage, as they say, as being a Mexican, then you're what they call a Negro, who the Most High calls an Israelite. And since we all American as being a quote unquote Negro, as they say, who the Most High say is an Israelite, then we're all American Israelites. Called by the Most High's name. Now, if you're ashamed to be called by the Most High's name, then I'm ashamed of you, and I ain't talking to you. Go and let the Europeans claim you. The modern day Europeans. Then I'm going to read from Who is Esau Edom, and let these people claim you if you're ashamed to be who you really are. And I'm not disrespecting them. I'm just telling the truth. Who is Esau Edom? And if you want to go play your games of throwing in your face that you claim to be the A, that's on you, man. That's not insulting me. You just discrediting yourself, and you should be ashamed. It says, what race of people easily rule over all other people? Several centuries ago, when our white ancestors were coming into the light of God's word, and the Reformation was sweeping Europe, that's already claimed to be fake history in the book of One World Totalitarians. Let me read it for you. By James W. Lee, the introduction page of this book. Once again, I'm not here to offend you, but I'm here to lay the foundation that's already been laid, which is the truth. And no other foundation can be laid other than this truth. So if your pride prevents you from telling the truth about who you are, then I'm not going to be trying to save you. The introduction. It says the fake history has been called the ancient architecture as Moorish revival or Morisque and Islamic. All this is fake history, according to James W. Lee. And also colonial, medieval, neoclassical, Baroque, Romanesque, Gothic, Boics Arcs, Eclectic, Tudor, Renaissance, Palladian, Richardsonian, Romanesque, Chicago School, or Victorian, and labeled them as fashionable styles to hide the old and true functions of its columns, arch openings, pinnacles, rose windows, naves ornamented, and true function of its columns, arch openings, pinnacles, rose windows, nave ornaments with iron columns, towers, and domes, in addition to having cut the ends of the pinnacles in the photographs or added crosses that did not exist before. He said, all this is the fake history. So if you want to claim part of a fake history, that's on you. And it's already known who I am. And you too, if you tell the truth. In the Library of Congress. It goes on to say the race of people easily rule. The race of people. See, it's hard, you can't get around race, man. You can't get around ethnicity, and you can't get around nationality. That's what the Bible consists of. And if you're gonna say the national that the Most High is talking about is the children of Israel. That's the nation that he's concerned about. That's his people. What race of people easily rule over all other people? Several centuries ago, when our white ancestors were coming into the light of God's word, and the Reformation period, which is false history, and the Reformation was sweeping Europe, it says our Anglo-Saxon people began to go to other continents. That's an acknowledgement. There are many cases in history where a handful of white European people, and there's no such thing as a white European, white talking about people is righteous people, and these people ain't righteous. There are many cases in history where a handful of white European people have conquered or put to flight a great multitude of colored races. At one time, Britain had control of all India with less than 30,000 soldiers. When Attila the Hun, known as the Scourge of God, had subjugated all of Asia, another acknowledgement, he decided to extend his barbaric dominion to the west into Gaul. The Visigoths under King Theodoric defeated the Huns in the Battle of Chalons. During the settling of South Africa by the British and Dutch, now these are Afrikaners, a group of some 460 colonists were encircled by 30,000 Zulu warriors. The Afrikaner colonists prayed and made a covenant with God, that ain't the God of nature, asking him to give our enemy into our hand that we might be victorious over him. So how are you going to ask the God of nature to be victorious over his people? At the end of the historic Battle of Blood River, not a single colonist was injured, but the Zulus lost 12,000 warriors. When Santa Anna marched into Texas with the aims to kill all the white gringos in the land, his well-trained and supplied army of 1,300 was defeated by 600 volunteers under General Sam Houston in a battle that lasted only 20 minutes, boasting against God. During the Mexican War, 1847, Santa Anna sent 20,000 troops to destroy the American forces, well, the United States forces, because Americans are the true de jure Israelites. See, that's another lie. Under General Sam Houston in a battle that lasted only 20 minutes, during the Mexican War of 1847, Santa Anna sent 20,000 troops to destroy the United States or the European forces under General Zachary Taylor. But Taylor, with an army 1/4 of the size of Santa Anna's, drove the Mexicans back into the hotly contested Battle of Buena Vista, February 23rd, 1847. Noted at the bottom, David S. Mosey, An American History, Ginn and Company, 1933, page 277. Santa Anna retreated southward to defend Mexico City with a force of 30,000 soldiers, but General Winfield Scott, with an army of about 10,000, entered the Mexican capital, subdued its forces, and raised the flag over the palace of the Montezumas. The colored race Mexico, Negro, quote unquote, was forced to cede half its territory, including California, Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico into the hands of the white race, Europeans. It says America, but that's not the truth. We know that now. Modern day Europeans at that. Note that though. That's why I'm objecting to what that Roman Catholic Pope says under the term California. We're going to get there. Because these modern day Europeans, who the Most High calls Mount Seir, stole it. So it got to be included in the term de jure California. Let's look up the term de jure. See, that's her once again trying to steal. She tells a lot of truth, but she have no choice but to lie, because if she tell the whole truth, and she does, but she tries to tell a lie too that she must be included. She's not included. That's not trying to be mean and nothing like that, but I'm here to tell the truth for Israel. And she acknowledges that natural and unalienable rights come from the God of nature, and that's Yahweh. Let's see what Yah says in the scriptures, since she put it back in his jurisdiction by telling the truth. Joel 2:27, and you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the law, your God, and none else. Who else did he include? Nobody, except Israel. The American Israelites, that's all he included. And I'm trying to be truthful and be fair to my brethren. They call themselves Mexicans. But they got to be true to themselves and know that they come from a Negro. That's your salvation. That they call a Negro. Who the Most High calls Israelites. If your pride standing in the way and you're ashamed of him, he said he'll be ashamed of you in front of all of the holy angels. Let's read that again. Joel 2:27. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the law of the land, your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. So if you're ashamed of him, he's going to be ashamed of you in front of all of heaven and all of the holy angels. And if you are ashamed of him because of your pride and you want to be clinging to Esau, and like I said, I'm not disrespecting Esau, I'm just telling the truth, then I'm ashamed of you and I ain't going to stand up for you. So let's continue. Because you got to remember, I'm not standing alone. I'm standing up speaking for the God of Israel. He got my back based on the truth. The colored race, Mexico, the Negroes, as they say, who the Most High calls Israelites, was forced to cede half its territory by coercion, forced. That's why I object to what she's going to say about California, the de jure California. And I'm in California. I'm a de jure California. I'm a de jure American Californian. The colored race Mexico was forced to cede half its territory, including California, Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, into the hand of the white race, Europeans. It says America, but I object to that based on knowledge. Once again, I'm not disrespecting them. Most High said they come from Mount Seir. But if they call themselves Europeans, and that's where they're going to go try to fight the Most High from, Europe. Let's look at the term European. They're not the Aboriginal Europeans. But even though they use the term European, what does it say? European. Century 1600, adjective 1630s, noun from French European, from Latin Europeus, from Greek Europaeus, European, from Europe. See Europe. Europe, from Latin Europa, Europe. So it even goes back to the modern, to the ancient Indians who are Aboriginals, but these people are Mount Seir who went to Europe. Often it says, let's see. I'm trying to skip over to the meat of the matter. Fake literary I, but also traditionally linked with Europa, Phoenician princes in Greek mythology, Klein, city, Heinrich, Louis, suggested as possible Semitic origin Akkad, Yoruba, to go down, set in reference to the sun, which would parallel Occident. Another suggestion along those lines is Phoenician Arab evening, hence west. But these are not the modern, these are not the ancient Europeans. The ancient Europeans are called Aboriginals. These are these people, Esau. Hence, you get the book, Who is Esau Edom? This is who they really are. And this is not acquiescence because you sent your agent in. So I'm just telling the truth. Esau, biblical son of Isaac, Rebekah, elder twin who sold his birthright to his brother Jacob for a mess of pottage. Genesis 25, hence used symbolically for one who prefers present advantage to present rights or interests. That's who they are. No disrespect, just reading it and telling the truth. So in righteousness, man, my daughter's a lovely person, man. She's my beautiful daughter. In reality, she's they trying to play middle warfare for her, but actually she's just here as walking in and letting me know I'm on the right track. That's all she knows. But they trying to use it as a mental warfare tactic to make me think I'm off track. Now I'm right on point, baby. It says the colored race Mexico, quote unquote Negroes, was forced to cede half its territory, including California, Arizona. Hey, daughter, you still gonna cook them enchiladas? I'm talking eventually. Don't worry, I'll cook some tacos tonight. Yeah, that's what I intended to do. It's just that the money that I sent you to get, you didn't bring back what I asked for. But that's okay. I'm gonna you going to use it and cook them tacos. All right, let's see where I'm at. The colored race, Mexico, quote unquote Negroes, was forced to cede half its territory, including California, Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, into the hands of the white race, Esau. Hunch, you have. Who is Esau Edom? And they're not white. They're not righteous. Thus was fulfilled the promise of Jacob Israel, which is also a lie. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put to 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. Leviticus 26:8. They're once again trying to take our place. Because the Most High wouldn't send them to kill his own people. Like they say. It was fulfilled. History is full of many instances where the colored races, quote unquote Negroes, could not stand up against God's Israel people. And they said they're the white race, who are actually Esau. Why? Because God had given them dominion over other peoples. Now they're telling the truth, only thing, and they're trying to switch roles. They say God gave Israel dominion over other peoples. Which they had to confess by necessity. And true, indeed, the Most High God of Israel really did give us back dominion. From Adam to Seth to Noah to Abraham to Jacob. The birthright included the right to govern or to rule. Another acknowledgement to the truth. But only thing, the truth is that the quote unquote colored races, as they say, who quote unquote are the Negroes, as they say, that they also called Mexico, who all come from the quote unquote Negro called Jacob, truly indeed has the birthright. Included the right to govern or rule. That's by their own acknowledgments. Now they're going to lie again. Why the Israel, quote unquote, white nations, meaning Esau, were to have this right of dominion, it was conditional on Israel abiding by God's law. So you mean to tell me they don't want to kill everybody and they kept his law? He said, no murderer has any eternal law or eternal life by abiding in them. The Most High said, I will never send my people on the offensive, only to defend themselves. He said, in that case, I will fight for them. But guess what they just acknowledged? There are many cases in history where a handful of white European people, Edomites, have conquered or put to flight a great multitude of colored races. Then guess what else they condemn themselves with? What's this? What race of people easily ruled over all other people several centuries ago when our white ancestors were coming into the light of God's word and Reformation, all of what is called fake history, was sweeping Europe? They say our Anglo-Saxon people began to go to other continents and do this. So that means they was on the offensive doing this, which is a direct violation of the law of God to his people. And then they're going to make this statement, and the Most High said, I heard it, and you lying. So while the Israel white nations were to have this right of dominion, it is conditional on Israel abiding by God's law. They just told you they broke the law. So why are they still in dominion? They not. If that race departs too far from God's law, then the law shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. Why come they wasn't smitten before their enemies? They weren't smiting enemies. Their enemies. They're trying to put it that we were smitten because we broke the law, but why are they breaking the law? If they God's Israel are being on the offensive. The stranger alien that is among you shall get up above you very high, and you shall come down very low. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. It says, read Deuteronomy 28, 25, 43, and 44. The heathen races, knowing that this is the relationship God has with Jacob, Israel, have often attempted to use it to their advantage and gain dominion over Israel by the seducing and deceiving them into violating God's law. Thus God told you not to allow the heathen in our land or make covenants with them, Exodus 23, 32 through 33, and Deuteronomy 7, 1 through 5. They just told on themselves. That's why the Most High say he's going to sweep them off the land. Ezekiel 35, Obadiah, and Lamentations 4, 21 and 22. Once again, I'm not here to offend nobody. I'm just here to object to lies and set the record straight. On the record. And the fact of the matter is, the Most High said he only cares about his people only. And if a Mexican who is a descendant of what they call a quote unquote Negro is ashamed to acknowledge that fact, then I'm going to be ashamed to represent you in the truth. Go and let Esau, your father, represent you. Then I'm reading from the Third Testament, chapter 39. Let's see what I'm going ahead to. Verse 52 to about 53. It says, the master taught you in the second era that many are called, but few are chosen. See, you're not going to be chosen if you're ashamed of him. Therefore, I ain't going to speak for you. That goes for Negroes too, if you're ashamed of him. I mean, you know, the quote unquote people they call black. If you want to be called black and you're ashamed of him, I ain't talking for you either. The master taught you in the second era that many are called, but few are chosen. And all of Israel shall be called. But from among them I shall mark out 144,000. In all I shall place peace, spirituality, and principle of spirit to spirit communication. It says, this is a term that probably they put in there, but it is a truth though. I am the universal father, not your Catholic Pope. That's where they get. That's why I try to sneak the Pope in on you. I am the universal father. My love descends to all hearts. I have come to all peoples of the earth. Yet if I've chosen this Mexican nation as the place for the full outpouring of my word and my revelations, they just told you in the book of who Esau Edom, this next Mexican nation is called the colored race, copper colored people that they call Negro. Yet if I've chosen this Mexican nation as the place for the full outpouring of my word and my revelations, it is because I found it to be humble and have found the virtues in their homes and have made the spirits of the people of Israel reincarnate among them. Some of the stuff that like I said, I object to everything she tries to do to try to put them back over us, the true American Israelites. Like I said, I'm not here to put anybody down, but the Most High sent me to redeem Israel as his representative. He said, I've come not except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He said, he's the kinsman redeemer. And the gospel that comes from the God of nature, which is the law, his word, is genealogy and temple work to restore the temple to its most holy standing, birthright. So I'm like I said, I object to anything she says that goes against his word based on precepts. His precepts, not hers, or not that Pope's. But I'm going to share information that she acknowledges. Some of it will be revisited, and some of it you might have not heard before. And by the way, I object to anything that was bought with my money that they claimed as their own. And if it really was my money, I object to it. You can't have nothing that's mine that you tried to use through deception, which I never agreed to. So you can't take nothing that's mine. I object. All rights reserved perpetually. For the word of God cannot return void, and it shall accomplish what it was set out to do. Black people, you've been conned. By Anna Von Ritz, Roman Catholic Post Proud Attorney. Well, we've all been conned, but you've been conned more than the rest of us. From everything I've seen, Martin Luther King Jr. took half a loaf, a grant of civil rights, and that at least temporarily prevented recognition of the natural and inalienable rights actually owed to Black people. Maybe he thought that half a loaf was better than none. Maybe he saw it as a stepping stone to eventually have natural and inalienable rights of all people fully recognized and honored. We'll never know what MLK knew or what he thought about this issue, but certain other things are sure. It's certain that the Democratic Party that so many black and colored people identify with and support has in fact been their primary political opponents for decades. Look at the history, look at the voting records. It was Democrats that engineered conferring municipal citizenship on black people following the Civil War. That's why she always mentioned 150 years ago. And they acknowledge and admit to their wrongdoing and their criminal activity. Effectively making them publicly owned slaves instead of privately owned slaves. It was Democrats who substituted civil rights for natural and unalienable rights too. Civil rights are merely privileges conferred by the municipal Congress. And they can be taken away from the municipal Congress on a whim. But your natural and unalienable rights come from nature and nature's God, Yahweh. Think about it. You've been snookered. And you don't need municipal citizenship. Why? Because we are the de jure Americans and the de jure Californians. Here in California. And you don't need municipal citizenship, and it was conferred on you, but you never needed it. And if you knew what it entailed, you would never want it either. You can choose to exercise your birthright political status as Americans instead. You can be truly free and have your natural and unalienable rights respected and protected. Where did that come from? The God of nature. Yahweh. Based on his unchangeable and unalterable word. You can claim your own assets for your own benefit. Like every other American, you simply need to know that you have that choice, and then you need to make it. Let's go to see, this thing you can do once you've done these things as far as acknowledge who you are and let them know who you are. The Most High already know who we are, and there's nothing they can do in deceit to change that. They can't stop you from being an American. They can't stop you from being a living soul. They can't stop you from being a living man and woman or child. All they can do is lie and be deceptive, but it's already on record of who we are and who I am. You got to claim who you are. So I'm not afraid or I'm fearful of them being deceptive of what they're doing. There's nothing they can do. They said be a devil. And they ain't got nothing to do with me. That's them. An end to black and an end to oaths. Secret oaths. Secret societies. Like I said, I object to anything she says that tries to go against the word of God. Deceitfully to include themselves. Because he already told you he only is concerned for his nation. Israelites. I'm speaking for him, so I can't use my feelings who want to say, well, like all quote unquote black people do, and try to include you, but the Most High is not including you in his kingdom on that level. You're going to be servants or handmaids, or you ain't going to be nothing. This is what he's speaking. And I can't say nothing that he don't say. She goes on to say, you see it everywhere: black rocks, black water, black acres, black robes, black, black, black. What is it all about? What is this about? It's all connected to the great fraud and to the prehistory of the earth that we never been taught in any school, church, or other institution. Black acre is an infamous and completely theoretical bit of property used endlessly in law schools to demonstrate positions in tort, a sort of Kama Sutra of all the various problems one can face with respect to different kinds of property law and injuries that may be sustained and arguments that can be made. Black water is an infamous mercenary subcontractor of the municipal United States. The black rocks, both literal and figurative, are all over the place. The Cobb in Mecca, the black stone of light at the United Nations, the upside down pyramid in Alaska, even the name Larry Fink's Bond Company. So what is all this black crapola about? Probate. So I gotta hold on for a minute. So she said that. I gotta revisit this other document she presented. So hold on for a minute. Let me get it. All right. All praise to the Most High. So what is all this black crapola all about? All about probate. Oh, it's about a lot of other things too, but primarily it's about probate. That's why all judges, even the justices, wear black robes. They all think that they are engaged in probating God's estate. They think that the living God is dead. How odd is that? They're about to find out otherwise. In the days to come, the brotherhood of Satan will be no more. And it is no more. Because the truth is here. Another statement, she said, when the truth arises, the falsehood has to disappear. And it has disappeared. For me, anyway. Because I can't make you be free. You got to make it disappear for you by your acknowledgement. In the days to come, the brotherhood of Satan will be no more. And all the wrong-headed ideas that gave rise to their traditions will be exposed as the fantasies of children gone astray. See? That's their grandeur of illusion. When they had them little gang stalking things, talking about children and trying to put it off on me, they really talking about themselves. I'm a grown man. And I'm exposing it. We'll have no more black rocks, black waters, black acres, or black robes at all. It's all going away. As it must and should, like a bad dream evaporates in the morning. Most High said there's going to be as though there were a bad dream in the night. That's a scripture. And it's going to be as though they had never been. He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yeah, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. There have been two groups of oath keepers since the very ancient times. In some parts of the world, they have been described in terms of feathers. One group wore a single feather and the other group wore two feathers. Interestingly, the oath that both groups took were invalid and still are. Null and void forever. Here's a good example of how and why oaths are invalid. How many of you used to watch Perry Mason on television long, long ago, or Matlock or other Law and Order courtroom dramas? See, the oath that they take is a colorable oath under Freemasonry, secret societies. That's colorable things. The Most High's oath is called covenant with him and his people. That's what the scriptures are. The law to his people, covenant. He said, remember hearing witnesses being sworn in and to give testimony. She says, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Swear, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Swearing is against scripture. So you're sinning in public. How would you know the whole truth about anything? And exactly how you to deliver nothing but the truth? If you are breathing, you fail that test. I know how. Line upon line, precept on precept, here a little, there a little. And the truth shall make you free. That's how. He said, I am the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And the truth shall be my shield and buckler. That's the truth. See, then she goes on to say, she didn't say none of those things I'm saying, but I ain't gonna let her speak for me when she tell lies. And so I say I object to anything she says that does not agree with the word of God concerning Israel. She's saying these things about her own people who are liars. She says, see, this is the kind of guile and nonsense used to entrap men like, she says General Michael Flynn. See, she's talking about her people. I'm not concerned with her people. Why? Because the Most High is not concerned. He just told you. He said he's concerned for Israel and none else. I read it to you, what he said. I'm not here to represent all mankind. I'm not here to disrespect mankind, but I'm only here to tell you the word of God, which she's already admitted to being the law of the land, his word. So that's what my job is, to say what he said. If you get offended, that's your problem. Because I'm not here to represent anybody but the children of Israel. And that's who he's representing. She said, this is the kind of guile and nonsense used to trap men like General Michael Flynn and subject them to judgment for lying. She said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't be shy about calling out the shysters for entrapping you. That's why I'm calling her out when she starts being a shyster. I'm calling him out when he's being a shyster because she's speaking for him, the Roman Catholic Pope. And I've already gone over, and I was listening to an elder speaking this morning, and I listened to his video, And he reminded me, and I went and visited that list of people that's allegedly been executed. And on that list, all of the cardinals, all of the politicians, all of the people who had positions, allegedly, including that queen, has been executed allegedly. That's why they were, by necessity, were forced to say these things to set the children of the Most High free from them in 2014. And the rest of these liars, the Most High is going to send them to, Get No Bay or Janamo Bay or whatever it is, and face the tribunal of Christ. That's not allegedly. That's the truth. Don't be shy about calling out these shysters for entrapping you, and don't hesitate to nullify any oath you may have taken. See, the only thing they can give us is what they owed us in good. What they don't think can give me is what they owe me according to good faith service. That's owed to me. That's not something I got to beg for. That's something they have to give me. Being an American Israelite from the house of Joseph and the tribe of Ephraim. You have a responsibility for your words and thought process. That's why I say I only speak for me. Meaning, and I speak for me when it involves them by the word of the law, which is the law of the land, precept according to the God of nature's thought process. That only natural and unalienable rights come through that God, Yah, Hawa, the God of nature. You have a responsibility for your words and thought process, but others have an obligation to fully disclose what they are doing too. See, that takes away any kind of thing that they're trying to do. If they give you a leading word or come and try to give you something that you can ask for without fully giving you disclosure of what they're doing, then that's a gift. Because you didn't know what they were doing or what they was trying to infer when they was telling you these things or doing these things. I didn't know. So unless they give me full disclosure of what they're doing, you can't entrap me. It's not my responsibility to try to figure out what you're doing and thinking. For he said to those who are pure, all things are pure. So if I ask for something in good faith and you have an evil intent behind it, that means you are filthy, not me. Because all I expected was my good faith service, but you had bad faith intentions that I knew nothing about. And I never agreed to. So you have a responsibility for your words and thought process, but others have an obligation to fully disclose what they are doing too. So it's not my job to sit around worried about what you're doing. When you've already acknowledged all your wrongdoing for over 150 years ago. All you're doing is incriminating yourself by your bad faith actions because all is known. So every day that you get up and try a new scheme, a new plot with no disclosure, that I can either choose to agree with or choose not to agree with is null and void of your action. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't care what kind of scheme, what kind of plot, whatever you do, because all is known. And I ain't gonna never agree to anything that's not in my best interest. I ain't gonna never give nobody nothing that's mine by right. Except to what the Most High requires of me. And then it's still my choice whether to give it or not. That's not yours. It's mine to give or not. And it ain't according to your game plan of what you think and what you say, and you not gonna let me be free. You don't have no choice. I am free. Because I've acknowledged who I am and I know who I am. Ain't got nothing to do with you. You just a hater. And when you're free and you know you're free, that takes the stress off of you as far as their game plan. Because they're only playing with themselves. It says two different populations. Folks, there are and have always been two different populations here in America. Actual current federal employees, retirees, don't count as active federal employees. And federal dependents, political asylum seekers, etc., who receive actual paychecks or unearned benefits from the federal corporation are owed discharge of all franchise debts via bankruptcy. The rest of us are owed discharge of the same franchise debts via probate action. Remember, she just acknowledged it's all about probate. The difference is that the probate action, and that's why that probate court has to give me what is mine by right, because they already see that I know who I am. And I'm capable of being who I am. So they can't claim that I'm missing. They got to give me what is mine by right. The difference is that the probate action not only discharges debts accrued by the secondary beneficiaries of our estates. The franchise is operated in our names. It returns our land and our other property back to us unharmed and fully restored. If you are a federal employee or unearned dependent, for example, someone receiving SSI who never paid into, invested in Social Security, by all means, take the bankruptcy protection and run. But I already proven to you that even in the retirement program that I was in when I worked, I already had been vested into that. By all means, take the bankruptcy and protection and run. But if you are not a federal employee, and I'm not, or unearned dependent, claim your estate back. I already did. The debts will all go away just the same, and they have. But you will also receive back the land and homes. So every home that I ever had has been returned to me too. And businesses haven't returned to me, but I've already proclaimed who I would authorize to have those businesses, which are my offspring, my sons, who are also Americans, Israelites by birthright, and no bad faith actions can come to them. But that's if they choose to receive it. And as far as I know, because I've spoken to at least one of them, and he said he was willing. Back in his unincorporated status. And other things that are rightfully yours. See, that's why I was trying to tell you, give me what is mine by right. And that's not being called greedy. That's not trying to be called anything else other than that's my right. And then she said, it's that simple. So if it's that simple, what else do I need to do? Nothing. Except receive it. And you have no right to stand in my way from receiving it. So I'm expecting it any day now. Because right now it's actually mine as I speak, but I'm expecting to receive what I'm expecting by right any day. So let's go ahead. Why is it that people are acceptive of saying that we all come from Adam, who was also a quote unquote a Negro, but you're not accepted to say that you came from Jacob, who's a quote unquote Negro? That the Most High calls Israelites. That's because it gets too close to home of the modern day Israelites that they don't want to acknowledge, but they already have. It's already known in the Library of Congress. And they've already acknowledged it. Something else she acknowledged, she said, claim your guarantees. It says the federal Constitution don't give you any rights you didn't already have. They do, however, guarantee that the federal government won't usurp against your rights. The question is, do you want the benefit of those guarantees? Good. Now that the question is settled, the next question is, how do you think that your Constitution or your constitutional guarantees are enforced? The Constitution can only be enforced by the parties to the contract. So who are the parties to the constitutional contract? The people, our side, and the federal subcontractors, their side. This is a little trickier than it looks, but not much. When we say people, we're talking about, I'm going to use the terms the Most High says, and Americans. And then if you talk about the state, the jure state of California, from where I am, being a Californian, the place that the Creator created, the law of nature, then yeah, I'm a Californian. And since I've already explained to you, let's go look at the term de jure once again. De jure. Latin literally of law, thus legitimate, lawful, by right of law, according to law. Jure is a blatant of ius, law. So since the God of nature, which natural and unalienable rights come through, the California of the God of nature is the de jure California, which is the de jure state. And I'm not a citizen. I'm an American. But I'm also a Californian of the de jure California. She already told you that we never needed to be a municipal citizen. Why? Because we're the de jure people from the land. I am. So I don't need to say citizen. I'm an American and I'm a Californian. De jure in nature. According to the law of nature, the God of nature. With all natural and unalienable rights respected and protected. Now, since I'm speaking for California, as a Californian, a de jure Californian, I'm going to get rid of her terms and I'm going to say Californians are Americans who hold a singular allegiance, and I'm going to say to the God of nature. Are you able to act as an American for California? Again, that depends. You can act as a Californian if you have no obligation to any other government. This means that federal workers and their dependents can act as Californians. Attorneys can act as Californians. Active duty military personnel and their dependents can act as Californians. New immigrants can't act as Californians without declaring their political status. What's that? American birthright status. All these groups of people may be as Americans as you or I. but they can't act as Californians until they cut free other obligations from the corporation. And all you gotta do is just acknowledge that you're American by birthright, which is an Israelite. That's that simple. Once they quit, retire, tear up their bar cards, or fully discharged from the military or renounce allegiance to their former country, Europe, Britain, they can come home and be Californians. Until then, they can only act as Californians or Americans. So what's American? An American born within the borders of one of the states who is guaranteed all the rights and benefits, but who is not able to serve as a American. This includes Americans, Africans, born abroad to American parents. Why? The book of Remembrance tells us that our first parents were called Adam and Eve, or Yasekad and Kava, who were the first indigenous people wherever they spread themselves. That's why the Most High said, tell them Americans to come back home. That's all I need to say. All the other rules and regulations and stuff that she talking about, that's what she talking about. I'm here speaking for the Most High's people. Why kill colored people? Another statement by Anna Von Rich, Roman Catholic Post-Proud Attorney. The simple answer is that the diabolical card or the diabolical cats are racist and always have been. They actually think that they are superior in every way. The master race, blah, blah, blah. That's why the Most High told us that we're the master race. And he only care about us. If you break down the word Israelite, it says elite. Locally, if you are going to promote yourselves as the master race, before I go there, let me go back to probate. Did I read that already? I believe I did. But if not, I'm going to end up on it again. It said, they actually think that they are superior in every way. This is another acknowledgement. She said racism really exists. The Most High said that also in the books of remembrance. And it started back during the times of Adam, after the second generation. Logically, if you are going to promote yourselves as the master race, somebody has to be the slave race. This is part and partial of the entire ether, or thinking modality. These creations literally practice either or thinking and enforce it on all of us as a means of dividing and conquering us, all of us. The verses was against the quote unquote black race. It wasn't all of us, as she's trying to say. It was conquering the colored nations. That's what dumb diversity was all about. There are no actual winners in Satan's kingdom other than Satan. So they divide us into rich and poor, black and white, Catholic and Protestant. See, but Most High don't call us Catholic nor Protestant. And he said our skin shall never wax pale, meaning pale face. So she's still including herself. And from the time we are babies, what do? They literally teach us to look at our differences and not our similarities. This is so that they can manipulate us. That's all true too, what she's saying. But the fact of the matter is, the Most High created us to be the master race. And that's why they try to beat us and lie to us and say that they're the master race. Because she already told you it's about probate. And probate is about saying that God don't exist. I'm using her. And they actually think that they are superior in every way, the master race. That's another acknowledgement she said. So this is so that they can manipulate us, just like they're manipulating emotions and promoting lawlessness using yet another false flag. It turns out whoever the unfortunate victim in the videotape may have been, see, she's still using their people. We've been lied to about the structure of our government. And the government should be upon his shoulders. Talking about, unto us a child is given. He's talking about Messiah, Yahweh. That's all I'm concerned about, what his words say. But she gives a lot of information about their wrongdoing by necessity. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I ain't here to teach about her people. I'm here to teach Most High's people and bring us to freedom, which we're already free, where I'm free. I can't make you free. You got to choose to be free or not. That's celestial kingdom rules. We've been lied to about the structure of our government. We've been lied about who is in charge. What's the truth about that? She already acknowledged the natural and unalienable rights that's protected and respected comes from the God of nature. Yah. Hawa. Isaiah 9:6, for unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given. The government shall be upon his shoulder. That's the government. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. That's the government that the Most High is concerned about, to usher in his kingdom that they acknowledge is now in force, being progressively established. Back to her statement This is so that they can manipulate us, just like they manipulate emotions and promoting lawlessness using yet another false flag. Red flags, anyone? We've been lied to about the structure of our government, and I just read to you the structure of our government. They're going to rule all the earth. We've been lied about who is in charge. I just read to you who's in charge. Because after all, she said, Jure only Nosman, speaking for that Roman Catholic Pope, that's why he took down the Vicar of Christ, and the Pope before him that he took over from took down the Sovereign of the North. Because the transference of kingdoms is here progressively. Obadiah 1:21, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. I'm trying to keep you focused, people. She goes on to say, we've been lied to about the structure of our government. We've been lied about who is in charge. We have quadrillions of dollars embezzled out of this country. We've been lied to about September 11th, the Lusitania, how do you pronounce that word? The Lusitania, the Maine, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and as I've recently demonstrated, lied to about the atomic bomb. We have certainly been lied to about the safety of vaccines and government oversight of drug companies in COVID-19. Well, I was reading about that today. Majority of that allegedly, I'm going to put it allegedly, that COVID-19 was a false flag that represented the taking down of the frauds, including allegedly the Roman Catholic Pope Francis, the Queen of England, all of the cardinals, including all of the politicians, allegedly. That's what allegedly COVID-19 was all about. And everybody, they say he passed away from COVID-19 allegedly was really those wicked that was held to answer before the tribunal of Messiah at the hands of them. They carried out the God of nature's judgment on the wicked. And they not finished. Allegedly. What more does it take, folks? We are dealing with liars. They lie for fun. They lie for profit. Yes, and they lie to control and to excuse their actions. That's why they brought allegedly another confession saying that they're disassociating themselves from dumb diversity. And they lied under the auspices of the $5 Indians, saying that they were talking to them, but in reality, that was a smokescreen. This information that I'm bringing to you is the truth. They've already acknowledged the transference of power to the American Israelites on this land. And that's why the Most High said, tell our brethren, as he just told you, that's in Africa, the East, to come back home, where you're going to be protected. But the wicked among us is trying to get you from being protected and sending you to danger, talking about go back to Africa. We are dealing with liars. They lie for fun. They lie for profit. Yes, and they lie to control and excuse and to do hideous things. And they aim to come out smelling like roses too. If they could lie about the atomic bomb and get away with it, obviously the sky is the limit. Put a phony veneer of fake science and bogus math over it. That's why I'm going to have to tell you about what the still portion tells you about it. Most High going to say the same. I'll come through with that message. And they have already proven they scare people into building bomb shelters. Right now, people are rioting over police abuses that have gone on for decades, not just in Minneapolis, but all over this country, especially in Democratic strongholds. What? Yes, you heard that right. Absolutely all worst police abuses, the racial profiling, the atrocities, disrespect, and disregard for individual rights and dignity all occur where? In Democratic strongholds. Why? Because Democrats have always hated people of color. But still, portion tells us that in the corporation, they have Democrats and Republicans. So in other words, in the corporation, Democrats and Republicans are all Democrats still. Because Democrats have always, but they have a true government that the Most High created that loves his people. Because Democrats have always hated people of color. And it was the Southern Democrats in the Rump Congress after the Civil War that re-enslaved the free plantation slaves as public slaves. It was the Democrat Party that voted unanimously to not give colored people any voting rights, and then turned around and pretended to be BFFs. Well, if you're voting for the corporation at all, you are still a slave, and you admitting, just like if you pledge allegiance to it, it's citizen. They were also the ones that cheated colored people out of the recognition of their natural and inalienable rights and substituted equal civil rights. They can be suspended at the whim of Congress, just like they are right now. I was listening to a story about that this lady was promoting. She said that there were some people they call quote unquote law enforcement who are Edomites, was caught in a secret meeting talking about killing black people by hanging and everything. See? They didn't say Americans, they said black people. Why? Because you're in their jurisdiction. You're in Satan's jurisdiction, and you're expendable unless you come back home to be an American, and a de jure American and a de jure Californian at that. Liars. Nothing but big, fat, dirty liars, she says, who talked about freedom and provided enslavement for everyone, colored and white alike. I'm told, but guess what? if you quote unquote white, and I'm not disrespecting you, meaning you're European or Mount Seirite, Edomite, only choice you got is to go back to Europe or Mount Seir. You can never be anything but a slave here by them because you're not an American. So you got to talk to them about what you got to do. I'm talking about the Israelites that are Americans. That's my job. This is my duty. That's my obligation. And that's why I was sent. And you can't get mad at me about that. You got to get mad to them. You got to do something to them about it. They're the ones treating you like a slave. And you their own people. I'm just telling you the truth. You're better off being our slaves than being their slaves because they killers. That's why the Most High said, get back 4 times for you taken, repent, and come under us. As servants and handmaids, and learn of his law, the scriptures, precepts, correctly. You're not going to be no ruler, but at least you'll abide the day because they plan on killing everything in their jurisdiction. That's why I said Satan has power over his own domain, and Yahweh has power over his own domain. And the Almighty Father says, I own the earth and everything therein. And the meek, the Israelite, shall inherit the earth, and including inherit the Gentile. That's the scriptures. That's the law of the land. I am told that last night looters destroyed the Treasury building in New York. Well, this is back in 2014. This is when she wrote all this stuff, allegedly. I'm trying to get this stuff that's... She says, I find it highly suspicious. We're left to think that the looters were dumb enough to believe that there was money in the Treasury, but they didn't bust open banks and left ATM standing. She already acknowledged that they don't have no money. But the Americans, quote unquote, economy, quote unquote, money, real money. And then I'm going to read something else she's going to say. Like when I told you, and I told LaSarah and I told the county of probation, Los Angeles County probation, I told them, I said, when you're able, make sure all my money is turned into the jure money. And she's going to tell us when I get there that even since I already made that statement to be known to them, even when I use their money, which is called fiat, when I use it, it's transferred into real money as the jure money. So I'm not in sin when I even use their money. Because I had a knowledge somewhat of that at that time when I put that on the record, they had to honor it. So every time I've used even their money, I've still been in good faith. I'm also told that someone kindly left big piles of bricks for the looters and left the truckloads of bricks on every city block just to make the looters looting easier. Wasn't that thoughtful of someone? And as always, George Soros and son are involved. if I'm correct, wasn't George Soros behind the thing Black Lives Matter? I had to say allegedly because I don't know that for sure, but I think I heard that. If this country is such a terrible place, how did they become billionaires? Why aren't they in jail for funding sedition? And the whole lot more. Well, a lot of them have already faced the tribunal. They're just using CGI and drones, so to speak, doubles that was created. And allegedly, they say that they had a choice of how to exit stage left out of the world. And then if they use the term COVID-19 or something like that, allegedly, they don't have to have a double to represent them. But if they chose another form to exit stage left out of the world, allegedly, then that's why they were created doubles to replace them and to act like they still here, allegedly. That you see on TV through CGI, and you see their quote unquote replacements that can't remember how to get off the stage. Allegedly. And this country is such a terrible place, how did they become billionaires? Why aren't they in jail for funding sedition and a whole lot more? Inquiring minds want to know. Finally, to get to the question we started with, why kill colored people? Well, they operate their government as a corporation, so they want to cut their operating costs. Getting rid of the large inner city ghettos and all the welfare recipients does that very neatly. And once the ghettos are torn down, the vermin can take over all the valuable real estate for development of parks and luxury high rises. Kill two birds with one stone. But there's more. I've already told you about their habit of killing their priority creditor. She just told you something else. As an American Israelite, and in my case, a de jure American Israelite and a de jure Californian, she just told me that I'm a priority creditor, but I'm out of their kill zone. They can't touch me because I'm respected and protected because I've already qualified being who I am. And then she tried to throw herself in it again. We're all their priority creditors. No, you're not. You're a European woman. You're an Edomite. But the true Americans who are Israelites and de jure American Israelites and de jure Californians and whatever de jure place you come from in America, we are all their priority creditors. But I am, because I already confessed it and proved it. I can't make you be that if you don't want to be. But they owe colored people more money on average because they have been enslaved as public servants ever since 1868. Now they owe, quote unquote, colored people all the money. I'm just keeping it according to the Most High's will. Now you go speak to your people. I'm speaking to the Most Highest people through His word, which is the law of the land. Most white folk weren't presumed upon until 1933. That's a lie. When everything they did that went against the law of the land was for white folk. I mean, European or Edomites. Stop lying, woman. And I object to it. Your lies. Now, if I'm not lying, prove I'm not lying. And then if you can prove that I'm not lying, then but you can't because you're lying. So exercise your racial biases. Kill the priority creditors you owe the most money to. Reduce the welfare burden and free up some prime real estate for new development all at the same time. Color people of all shades and colors better think all this rioting and looting over. Better go home and give them no excuse to roll in the tanks and guns. She even gave an acknowledgement about that. She said, if I get there, that the corporate America or the U.S. or the corporate California and everything that's colorable has already been under martial law. They don't apply to the real Americans, the de jure Americans and the de jure Californians or whatever de jure place you come from. Don't get mad, get even. It's hard to spend money you're owed if you're dead. How do you get even? She already told you. Make your acknowledgement public that you are de jure American and de jure Californian, because they've already acknowledged all their wrongdoing and evil and criminal activity. All you gotta do is just state who you are. The war is over. That's why the Most High said, Zion, my elect, you should not go back into captivity. It's their turn now. Their sin has been discovered. That's what all this is about, discovering their sins, investigating their sins that they've already acknowledged to be true. The Act of 1871 was repealed. By Anna Von Rich, the Roman Catholic post-proud attorney. The Act of 1871 was indeed passed in 1871. See, that Act of 1933 was when they brought in all of the false money and stuff and took and stole the gold. They did. That's what they did in 1933. So how's she gonna try to include herself in them as being righteous? That's another criminal act. But they didn't touch our gold, the Americans, or they didn't touch mine. And you know what I mean by that by now. I ain't gotta keep repeating. The Act of 1871 was indeed passed in 1871, repealed in 1874. Then by piecemeal, finally revived and passed in 1877, implemented in 1878. And it has precious little to do with us, as it was actually a restructuring of one of the foreign federal subcontractors to better avoid culpability for and to profit for crime that same guilty parties had already committed against us. Now you know what us mean. They're true Americans, the jure Americans and the jure Californians, or whatever the jure place you live in America or you dwell in America. After the Civil War, the victorious Union Army that fought for the Northern Confederation reorganized what was left of the federal territorial government to settle the bankruptcy Lincoln started in 1863, which he declared the day after he issued the first ever executive order, General Order 100. Among other things, prior to Act of 1871, a Scottish commercial corporation, merely calling itself the United States of America Incorporated, foisted off its corporate articles of incorporation as the Constitution of 1868. So they formed a substitute entity, a foreign commercial corporation, named it after us, and started doing business in our names, impersonating us and illegally assessing our assets and credit started in 1868. And in 1871, they began slow down. And in 1871, they began this same process of impersonation for the District of Columbia by creating the District of Columbia Municipal Corporation. Call me old-fashioned, but the switcheroo that took place in 1868 is what should be of most concern to us as Americans. And only secondarily should the Corley fraud taking place in the District of Columbia concern us. In both cases, the actual government was usurped and our assets seized upon illegal and unlawful via members of the U.S. Congress pretending to represent us, and all operated under conditions of non-disclosure, fraud, breach of trust, and deceit. That's why they had to say by necessity, they had to give everything back, including every dime they ever made off of us. Or me. And you already know what that means by me. I'm not disrespecting you, but I can't speak for you. I can only speak for me. But I am speaking for you if you believe the truth based on the Most High word that they have to agree with. To put it bluntly, instead of functioning as our fiduciary deputies in the office we defined for them, see, remember the Most High said, that was in the sealed portion, chapter 27, he said, this wasn't, he suffered this to be so, but you wanted them to be it. Come with these families that he suffered to be here. How did you want them to be here? Because you didn't speak up in the truth. To put it bluntly, instead of functioning as our fiduciary deputies in the office we defined for them, these post-Civil War reprobates evaded the responsibility and began operating as trustees of our estate assets, as our purporting proxies voting for us in their own corporate shareholder elections. See, your votes don't count. And as our reported proxies voting for us in their own corporate shareholder elections. So if you claim to be their citizen, they voting for you, all right, but in their favor. That's why you was complaining about them sending money over to their brethren. Talking about they taking your taxpayer money and sending it over to Ukraine. They voted for you in their favor, saying that you didn't mind. And they sent it to them. That's because you was a United States citizen. And I'm going to say allegedly. And they never told us a word about all these arrangements being made for us in our names. The actual American government was thus bypassed and settled into dormancy, while our employees contrived to become our masters, literally. Yes, the Act of 1871 is a window on the process of this criminality. She's another acknowledgement. Overtaking a foreign subcontractor of ours, but that's hardly our concern. A subcontractor of ours could choose to recognize its own international affairs and desire to incorporate its business and its no skin off of our noses. Is it? What is really important about the Act of 1871 is that it shows what went on in Scotland and in America in 1868, and all without our knowledge or permission. If you really think about it, considering the Northern Kingdom information is really the Constitution for the Americans, the Israelites. As they say, the colored races. Because a lot of this information that she tells us the truth matches the information that's in the sealed portion and in the books of remembrance. It's the Most High promised to give those who feared him. Not counting the lies she tells, I object to all those things. But what is she to do? She's a European. What else she gonna do? She got to try to keep herself alive. But the Most High said the real way to do it is to repent, get back 4 times you've taken, and come under his leadership that you can be protected. And you'll be our servants and handmaids. If not, he said he's gonna kill you. Because you deserve that. And you know you do. Isaiah 60:12, for the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish. Those nations should be utterly wasted. I just always like to put that in there just in case you want to lie and say I said. The end of 400 years of European meddling and predation in America. Let's go back to the term meddling. Meddling is a noun. Mid-14th century action of blending. Verbal noun for meddle, meaning act or habit of interfering in matters not one's proper concern. Stay out of my business. You just could be, you be concerned with serving me. And that's according to my rights, the things that are mine by right. I'm not trying to take nothing from you other than what is mine by right. That's honorable. And you can complain about stuff you stole. How you gonna complain about you done stole stuff, but then you gonna try to say that's yours? I'm gonna read it all to you. I'm just gonna go to several sections. It says the Constitution, talking about the original Constitution for America, the true Americans. The Constitution, the Most High commanded us that we should honor the one He created for us, the people. The Constitution for America, that even the Constitution of America must honor. The Constitution was saved and a new foundation begun. The Native Americans that we now that know that we're talking about the American Israelites, who they call Negroes, are now free to come home to the land that they were removed from. No longer POWs, they have regained their sovereignty as free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land. The United States of America and the free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land of the organic states have regained their sovereignty in the international jurisdiction of the sea. For the first time since 1789, we just read about that, Americans are in full control of both their natural and sea jurisdictions. We are finally whole. And then they gave another order. Do not follow any orders to harm Americans. Those who do will be tried for war crimes and face the death penalty, just like the Nazis at Nuremberg. If you have resources, knowledge, or skills to offer, please stand by. There will be needs aplenty in the days to come. There may be possible disruptions. Well, the area was doing a lot of that. It is either criminally stupid or purposely malignant circumstance when all countries' major news organs are owned by foreigners. Now that you know that fact, turn the knob. Take everything these talking heads say with 2 grains of salt. Use your own brain and common sense. Turn in yourself, your abilities, your skills, your friends, your families, your communities. So trust in yourself, your abilities, your skills, your friends, your families, your communities. Hey, daughter, when you do cook it, though, I will be able to eat something on it.
Okay.
No, I said yes or no.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. Love you. Okay. Trust in yourself, your abilities, your skills, your friends, your families, your communities, your most cherished ideals, your fondest hope. If you are like most Americans, you will feel panic and anger and confusion when you realize just how close we have come to total disaster. Believe in the Magnum Mysterium, the true God, the great spirit that shares one life with all of us, one love that is truly divine. Walk forward now together, hand in hand. This is not a lie either. That's why he's going to tell you that he told you you're supposed to walk hand in hand in our joys. Everything, that's your purpose. Everything you're supposed to do is to please us. But you changed that to make us try to please you. You reversed everything. That's why I said everything that has breath should praise the Lord, praise Yahweh. Is that you tried to make everything about you instead of who it's really about, the children of Israel. Walk forward now together, hand in hand, and fear no evil. When the truth comes, what is false must pass away. The truth is here. $25.88. And all liars include systematic indictment. Let me go on in. Man, I ain't gonna read all that. Maybe I'll come back with that at another time. That's like 6 pages. That'd take too long. Let's go back to so she said, message to all targeted individuals. This is very important because this is the crime they're doing right now, which is a crime against crime against the Israelites and other people. Message to all targeted individuals. This is another acknowledgement that it's not your imagination. This is really happening. This is on the record. And I've already let them know about this in 2019 when I had notified all parties involved, including the Roman Catholic Pope and Donald Trump and the other politicians, that I objected to being targeted and that I was and that I am an American Israelite. And I commanded them and gave them a letter of cease and desist to stop targeting me. That was on the record, and it is on the record. And then I talked to someone, and they told me that I'm not a target. They said, "You're not a target." So I'm not a target. What is it? What is it about then? You're trying to make me bring out this information? Well, you still have to pay for it, though, nigga. And Wigger. You know what? You got to pay for it. And I request mine being all real money. But even if they were to send their money, it's still going to be transferred into real money. The jure money. The jure credit. representing the de jure American man that I am, being an Israelite in a de jure California. She goes on to say, message to all TIs. You're being targeted because you are listed as being citizens of the United States. And so are fair game as guinea pigs. The equivalent of fish in a barrel with no legal protection, no rights, and no hope of gaining an ear in Congress. It's Congress that sold you as human chattel. Who does that say again? Let you know who she's really talking about. Talking about where I'm the ancestor of my ancestor and my forefather, Joseph, king of Egypt, who was Israelite. First Aki chapter 3, or I put it, Negus of Egypt. And thus was Joseph taken bound into the land of a far country, and he was handled like unto one of their chattel, having no hope of rescue. See, scripture makes it clear. Messages to all TIs, you are being targeted because you are listed as being citizens of the United States. I'm not being listed as a citizen of the United States anymore. And so are fair game as guinea pigs, the equivalent of fish in a barrel with no legal protection, no rights, and no hope of gaining an ear in Congress. It's Congress that sold you as human chattel to serve as test subjects. Don't be ridiculous and expect Congress, which is making money hand over fist from this test program, to cancel it just because you are being made ill and miserable. And don't expect the mindless wonders in charge of the territorial U.S. military to give you any breaks. So far as they're concerned, you are all enemy combatants in a theater of occupation. Freak theater. So now that you understand your position, change it. Declare your political status as an American and reclaim your birthright. Now, all the rest of this stuff is talking about stuff she's talking about. The Most High says, if my people, and that's all I'm going to say. I ain't going to say what she's talking about. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves, watch and pray, and seek my face, his law, which is the word of God, of nature. He said, then what I hear from heaven, and then he said, then I will forgive your sin, and then I will heal your land, your status. But she goes on to say, but his word is above all words, but I'm still read what she says. But all these things, she's talking about her people. This is what you got to do. And I've already done these things in the past because I didn't know what to do, but I know I had to do something. But I'm going to read it anyway. She said, declare your status as an American and reclaim your birthright. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just reading information to you. Join your state assembly and flex your muscle in your proper standing and capacity. Now, she just told you that everybody else is acting in their jurisdiction. So who is your state assembly? The de jure Americans who are Israelites and the de jure Californians who are Israelites. And assemble yourselves together, and all of you make your declarations and tell them to cease and desist this criminal activity against you. Or whatever de jure state you're in. Assemble yourself in America. And the easiest way to do it is on the internet, to do a quick work. Just make a public declaration and demand that all this stop, cease, and desist. And it will stop. Join your state assembly and flex your muscle in your proper standing and capacity. Inform the United Nations Secretary General that you are non-domestic with respect to United States, Inc. And you are being harmed as a result of their various warfare testing programs. That should be efficient to get the ball rolling. Then send a copy of the United States Secretary of State and to your state Secretary of State. I've done all these things before. I sent it to them, and I made it known publicly on the internet. That's more impressive because it reaches all hearers, and they listening. To be able to do a quick work. The Most High said, I'm doing a quick work by proclaiming and declaring from the rooftops. Take action as an American and as an employer of these dumb brutes instead of signing a petition and pleading with them. Oh, please, please, Mr. Badman, don't hurt me anymore. I'm just a hapless American being mistaken as an enemy combatant by my own armed forces while at home in my own country and being used as a domestic target when I'm not naturally in their jurisdiction at all and no subject to their government and not domestic with respect to them all or with respect to them at all. Got the idea of what is actually going on now? Know why the rats smirk at you and pretend not to know what they're doing? Get the hammer on them and stop begging for mercy from pirates. Get on your feet and start moving if you want to live in peace and not as a buzzard bait. Do what I'm telling you to do. That's what the Roman Catholic Pope, private attorney, spoke for that Pope said. That's why when I was speaking to someone yesterday, they might have known these things, but they know that what they were doing was wicked. And they thought I was subjugated to my apartment. And when I told them that I'll be out riding my bike just about every day, they asked me how am I doing? I said, I'm doing great. And when I told them I ride my bike every day, they was like shocked. I said, why are you surprised? Because I know who I am, despite of what they do. And they gonna stop that. And they gonna pay me for it in real money. Even if they send me their money, I can still spend it as real money and it will be honored as real money. Why? Because I got the knowledge that you really want. Knowledge. All right, let's continue. $31.20. That's where I'm headed. Native American. Now we know what the Native American really is now. Not the $5 version. Not the one that Donald Trump says they don't like Indians to me, but the real Aboriginals, indigenous people. They came from Adam. They came down through Jacob, called Israel. She goes on to say, people come to me and complain. They tell me about their own trail of tears from the Bronx. Why she mention the trail of tears? They tell me about their own trail of tears from the Bronx to Long Beach. Why is she naming the hood? Talking about the Native Americans. From Dallas to Denver, Chicago to Salt Lake. I hear it all. They come and they confess their sins to me. Salaki. I hear it all. They come and confess their sins too. Things they would not tell their mother. They tell me. Grandma isn't as close in space and time. Her mind was formed in other places. And she was young. When she was young, there was no home computers. Still, they come and tell me the same things their own mother and father said. I'm lonely, I'm scared, I'm bored. My knees ache, my stomach is upset. I have this constant nasty nasal infection. Grandma is a wall. Her lips are sealed. All the grief and dirt and all might have been items come tumbling out, falling like last fall's leaves on the bare earth, dreaming, waiting to be recycled. They say, I don't know what love is. I wonder why they don't know. Then I take them by the hand and teach them love is the wind rusting the pussy willows. It's the stars at night. It's the way a cat scratches in the morning sun. She's telling you it's the God of nature's territory. It's the light in my eyes when I see you standing tall. It's when you find your way to my door, I rejoice. Your feet still know the path to find me. Somehow, you stumbled your way home. And I whisper in your ear, hey, you are an American. Do you know how wonderful that is? Unincorporating, recharting, and other issues. She says, many Americans have unwittingly and without the benefit of full disclosure incorporated their businesses, are now in what appears to be terrible situations. And I've been getting plenty of screams. See, once the business, what she's trying to tell me is, and if you're listening, that once we created a business, that business still exists in our rightful status. But when we unknowingly incorporated it, we gave it to their domain. But based on this knowledge she's about to tell us, is that the jure business that we created is still there, being able to be operated by the jure people, me, and possibly you if you hear what I'm saying or what she's saying. And it makes that shadow business disappear and be returned back to the de jure American, Israelite, and de jure Californian or whatever de jure place that you dwell in. Many Americans who have unwittingly and without the benefit of full disclosure incorporated their businesses are now in what appears to be a terrible situation. Now I've been getting plenty of screams in the night as they have awakened to the facts. Those facts include that by incorporating their businesses, they have signed away their essential ownership interest in the business in exchange for bankruptcy protection that most of them never needed to begin with. The further facts include that by incorporating, they subjected themselves to all sort of regulations, rules, taxes, and codes that would otherwise not apply to them. So otherwise, under the natural, de jure business that I own, Most High said, a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children and their children's children, that I've gifted to my inheritors and my offspring, meaning my two sons, who are de jure American Israelites and de jure Californians. It is free to them to use or to operate and own the business. I just asked for 10% that they agreed to give me. And they don't have any regulations, rules, taxes, and codes to answer to. This is from the Roman Catholic Pope, power of attorney. The further facts include that by incorporating, I'm just saying what they don't have to do. And since it was mine by right, they don't have to do it. And nobody should be trying to force them to do it. The further facts include that by incorporating, they subjected themselves to all sorts of regulations, rules, taxes, and codes that would otherwise not apply to them, and they also are in a bind in that crazy can't unincorporate without permission of the state of state organizations that they apply to charter under. Ouch. Many non-profit organizations, including churches that chartered as NGOs and 501c3 non-profit organizations, are aghast to learn what that really means. Satan just snuck up on them quite as the snake he is and swallowed them whole. And they are the ones who did this voluntarily to themselves. Again, without full disclosure. Understandably, this is very, very scary business on. Understandably, this is very, very scary for business owners, both profit and non-profit. But he said, as unincorporated, you can be for profit or non-profit, and not have to do none of these things that they tell you to do. So that is what is all the that is what all the shouting and moaning and gnashing of teeth is all about in the business world. However, there is this saving grace. All those territorial state organizations are subject to us. The actual unincorporated federation of states, known as the United States of America, and our state assemblies are now in session. What this means is that your unincorporated business operating under a state of state charter is actually owned by the true Americans, the jure Americans, and the jure Californians, and the jure Americans wherever you are in the jure states. Not the territorial state of state organizations you have been dealing with. We are the ones who actually pay all the bills and stand behind all the bankruptcies, so your owner interest is in our hands, not theirs. And similarly, if you incorporated your business as a U.S. corporation, your charter is actually owned by the United States and is under the administration of the United States of America, us again. So to straighten this conundrum out and get things back on track and allow everyone to sort out their own business affairs, we've established a 1 year, well, that's a lock year. That's not the truth concerning the true Americans, because the Most High said, because this is all about his law. That's probably true for them, but not for us as the Americans. And I say probably because I ain't concerned about that. I'm concerned about the true American. And since they're not American, they're not including us. That's the truth. Daniel 7:22, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given unto the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. His word that she's already admitted to, that all natural and unalienable rights come from this God, the God of nature. So anything she's trying to include herself in as far as dominion, according to the God of nature, don't apply to them. It applies to the jure Americans and the jure Californians, or whatever the jure state you're in. You might try to sound like I'm being unfair. How am I being unfair when they stole everything from us? The Most High just making sure they return it with interest, 4 times what they take. In order to be in good standing with him. The law. So to straighten this conundrum out and get things back on track and allow everyone to sort out their own business affairs, we've established a 1 year amnesty period for all and a territorial and U.S. corporation for recharter as American corporations. There's no limitation on the true Americans, the de jure Americans. That's why the Most High said we shall inherit the Gentile. So if you still try to lie and say you can have something, he said, nah, we're going to own you, including all your stuff. Why? That's only right, because you own our land. And your ancestors stole our stuff. That's justice. That's equity. equity, and justice, according to the Most High law, which is the law of the land. This is the easiest and least controversial option and doesn't entail a lot of palaver or legal battles or paperwork. So you don't involve none of that stuff. It's already done. That's why, as the true American, that's why she was trying to tell you all you gotta do is go on the internet and do a quick work and do a declaration of your status, being an American. And everything is already, the Most High has already provided and put everything in place for everything else to take care of itself. This is the easiest and least controversial option and doesn't entail a lot of palaver or legal battles or paperwork. The board of directors meets, adopts lawful purposes. What was that called? De jure. I just read it to you. Languages and a declaration that your corporation stands under the public law. And if there are shareholders, the shareholders approve it. You record this action amending your articles of incorporation of Viola. But she just already told you they're the easy and the least controversial option and doesn't entail a lot of palaver or legal battles or paperwork. Paperwork is already done. If you're de jure. That's why the Most High told you, demand them in my name, in righteousness. And they got to give you this stuff. Because he already paid the price. You record this action, amending your article of incorporated in Viola, you are all safely back in America, and none of the worse off, though considerably wiser. They just told me everything that they took from me, they gave it back. I'm just waiting for my physical truck or car or whatever I decide and get my scooter back, and then I'll go ahead and get some land and houses, all been returned to me too. And my intent is to get a nicer house that if it already came to the point that my children ever decide, no matter how old they are, decide to come and live with me or dwell with me, they're able. That's how we did it in Israel anyway. But they're free to always, do their own thing because they're free too. I get lots of begs for templates to accomplish this, but the fact that is that nearly impossible owning the unique nature of articles of incorporation. The idea isn't to rewrite everything you have, but simply amend what you have so as to declare that you are, one, operating as an American corporation under the public law and organized for lawful purposes, then record this decision on our land recording system, blockchain, or with any state assembly land recording office. See, by you just recording, she already said all these things. So if you just acknowledge who you are, and I have, all this stuff is already done. They don't require no paperwork. Because they already know they got to do this. And it's done already. And it will shock you all to learn that many corporations in the current system have been allowed to operate for legal purposes. And legal purposes include many ugly and unlawful purposes that nobody in their right mind would approve of, much less ensure at the public expense. Those corporations would have to seek foreign havens and get offshore fast. It will shock you all to learn that many corporations in the current system have been allowed to operate for legal purposes. And legal purposes include many ugly and unlawful purposes that nobody in their right mind would approve of, much less ensure at public expense. Those corporations will have to seek foreign havens and get offshore fast. It won't do them any good to move their operations to Puerto Rico or Mariana Islands or any other territorial of the U.S. enclave, because the public law and the Constitution are now being enforced not only on the mainland, but throughout the territories and possessions. The other option is to liquidate, which basically means to sell off the assets of the corporation as it stands, recoup the money, and reinvest. If you go this route, the other foreign governments involved will take a hefty corporate gains tax and possibly other taxes out of your receipts. But at least you will be shed off the enslavement racket. See, that's why they were trying to give me receipts. But I objected to this because you never gave me no full disclosure. You was doing none of that stuff, which was bad faith and fraudulent. Nah, I choose to remain as I am in good status, being an American and using the probate system that already proved that I'm alive. And just give me back all my stuff. That's all I want. And you can't do nothing about it. Except give me what was mine by right. By far, the easiest and most advantageous option for most enterprises is to recharter as an American corporation. That means now you unincorporate from the corporation. And you operate as an American corporation. And that's what I'm doing. Lawful on the jure America and California. And all parties acknowledged it as truth because they listening. So what I'm going to do, for time's sake, I'm going to end it on that one. And Most High say the same. I'll come back maybe tomorrow and finish the rest of this information that she's acknowledged. Speaking for that Roman Catholic Pope or the city-state of Rome. Because all things have been returned to me without any debt, encumbrance, or any such thing. And I'm free to operate on any jurisdiction as a sovereign. So all praises to the Most High. All praises to his holy name.